Are your ad campaigns lighting up the dashboard, but not the pipeline? That's bullspend, and marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
My boss asked for results, so I opened my dashboard for the only positive-sounding metric I had: impressions.
Cut the bull spend. See revenue, not just reach. LinkedIn delivers the highest return on ad spend of major ad networks. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
From our virtual studios in the Netherlands
and Camarillo, California,
it's time once again for your favorite marketing show called Marketing Geeks.
The greatest two hosts that exist on planet Earth and beyond. We have the one, the only, Justin Womack and Andros T. Sturgeon coming at you with the latest and greatest marketing news.
And we have quite a show lined up for you, ladies and gentlemen. The latest marketing news. Of course, the Sex Robot Report. It's a good one.
And is Ghostbusters 3 really happening?
We answer all of these questions and more. Plus, the main meat of our program today will blow your mind. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages around the world, it is time once again for your favorite marketing show. That's right. It is the Marketing Geeks.
Marketing Geeks.
Been out here all morning. Not a single bite. Guess the fish finally figured it out. Just like hackers do when Cisco Duo's on guard. With Duo's end-to-end phishing resistance, every login, every device, every user stays protected. No hooks, no catches, no bites. Cisco Duo. Phishing season is over. Learn more at duo.com.
Hey, man.
Hey.
How's it going?
Fantastic. I just flew in from Oregon last night. Got home at 2 a.m.
And you went through LAX during the government shutdown, right?
I did. I went through LAX during the government shutdown, and surprisingly, it went pretty much business as usual. I was surprised. I was expecting a long delay. We got there about 3 hours early. It was me, my wife, and my 8-month-old baby, he's 8 months old as of yesterday. And yeah, it was smooth. The only problem was that I flew Allegiant, and they delayed every single flight multiple times. But we got there. We were happy. It was a smooth flight. Once the flight got off the ground, it was just delayed on both sides of the ball.
So did you have to go through the thing and do the Jesus on a cross thing while they checked you for, the steel plate in your head and all that stuff?
I did have to do that. LAX was fully business as usual. When I was in Eugene, because we flew to Eugene, direct flight to Eugene and back. When I was in Eugene, I got away with a few things. Like I got to leave my hat on. That was awesome.
Oh.
Leave my hat on. And
cool.
I had my belt on, and they didn't say anything.
Ooh,
you believe that? So,
wow.
I don't know. So I hate to give this stuff away, but this is what was happening.
Man, it's I'm glad that you got through worry free. I mean, I've traveled through airport security with a baby, and yeah, if I were to go to hell, and the entryway to hell would just basically be like an airport security with a baby.
Yeah,
that'd be it.
Well, I was with my wife too. That helps. That makes it easier to have two parents there, and so that made it a little smoother. What I was going to say though is, with the shutdown, the air traffic controllers are also not being paid. So that was in my mind, that was like a pretty big concern that the air traffic controllers aren't being paid.
Yeah.
But again, there were no hiccups. Everything went well. Flight was good. It was just like, I was building that stuff up in my mind, and I feel bad for them. They're not getting paid.
Well, I'm glad you're back safe. Yeah. It's kind of a wild situation, but I'm glad you're safe and back ready to do another Marketing Geeks show. So we've got a great show. We are going to do. You want to let us know what
we are going to do? Are you ready for it?
I'm so ready.
Drum roll, please.
Okay, here we go. There we go.
Customer avatar. We are going to talk about the customer avatar, but we're going to take this pretty deep here. So what we're really talking about is identifying your market segment. So depending on what service or product that you are selling, there's always a specific market segment that you want to get your message out to. And we are going to talk about how you can identify who that market segment is and then figure out where they are hanging out. We may be splitting this up into 2 episodes depending on how deep we get going here. But we'll definitely get into some very interesting topics today. And it's exciting stuff. I mean, I love this stuff. Since I was on that plane that was delayed for, especially on the way home, we were delayed like 3 hours. I got to listen to a lot of marketing audiobooks. So my marketing repertoire is top notch right now. Been tweaking my game.
Sharpening those swords. Yeah. So I want to give a big shout out. You got a really
huge shout out.
Huge shout out. We got a message on LinkedIn, and
I had to share it with you. Did you get the same message? Or?
I couldn't believe it. I haven't checked my LinkedIn today, but because it's morning here. So this shout out is insane.
Yeah. So Brian McLeod, he messaged me on LinkedIn today, and he said that he wanted to introduce himself. He's a marketing professor. I'm not going to name the school right now, but he was listening to the podcast, and he was traveling on a road trip, and he listened for 11 hours straight. That's the kind of fans that we're looking for. So
that is amazing. I don't want to do something that feels good for 11 hours. And this guy, I mean,
that is commitment.
I mean, listening, that is commitment. Because I wouldn't want to listen to my own voice for 11 hours. But man, thank you for that. That is really cool. Though. Of all the things you could listen to, you could listen to like War and Peace probably on that journey.
11 hours. So. You could listen to a lot of long, like epic books.
You could, but he chose to listen to us. So thank you, sir. That's quite amazing.
And he is wiser because of it, because our show is just loaded with amazing content.
And speaking of amazing content, we have marketing news for everybody. I got a couple of really interesting stories. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
Okay, so if you're a marketer, when are people most receptive to mobile ads?
During the Super Bowl. I don't know. That doesn't even make sense, but
well, according to a new survey from AKI Technologies, it found that customers are receptive most to mobile ads while watching TV before bed. So they also found a generational shift in how consumers pay attention to ads. So this is from Marketing Land. Consumers are more receptive to mobile ads in front of a TV and the moments before they fall asleep, according to a survey from mobile ad platform AK Technologies. The company contacted audience marketplace Lucid to conduct an online survey of 1,000 U.S. adults in November of 2018. And what they found is that the highest receptivity moments, 59%, are receptive while watching TV at home, and 51% are receptive while in bed before sleep. So, and this is mostly with Gen Z. So the Gen Z.
How do they track that? Like, how do you track when somebody's on their phone? Like, how do you know they're watching TV while they're clicking an ad?
Well, apparently they actually did an online survey. Okay. So this is people who are.
I was hoping that they were just like, using, I don't know, one of those devices that just kind of look in on the home and watch. They're just kind of watching through your.
Yeah.
Like they have that new Facebook device. What's the thing called? The Facebook camera that they've been advertising. They have that thing like just filming you. They're like, oh look, he's watching TV and he's looking on his mobile phone, and look, I can see exactly what he's got on the mobile phone screen, and he clicked this ad right now.
Yeah, just looking outside your window, like peeping in, watching your son. Just good times. Anyway, so it's kind of interesting because, with a lot of ad sets, Facebook marketing, Google AdWords, you can determine when ads are shown. So if you are looking to advertise to a certain market segment, let's say that, for instance, you have a customer avatar, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, and your customer avatar is someone who watches regular TV and then gets on their phone before bed, that would be a time to serve them specific ad sets.
But to that point, Andros, you have to be aware of where your customers are located because you have to consider time zones too.
Right.
So if I'm running, if I go into Facebook and I say I want to run my ad, at nighttime, so I'm saying like 6 p.m. to midnight or something like that. Well, on the East Coast, that goes to 9, and that still might work, but 9 p.m. to 3 a.m.
Right.
So you just got to be aware that time zones change. So you have to figure out if you have an audience, on the East Coast, West Coast, if you have an audience overseas. I deal with some clients in Australia, and that's a pain because they're like 15 hours ahead. I don't even know. But it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's a big conversion.
Case in point, I'm drinking my morning coffee, and you're going to go to bed after this. So
exactly, because it's right now. Well, I record this. It is 12:43 a.m. and while you record it, it's what 9:43 in the morning.
9:43 on a snowy day here in the Netherlands. I'm looking at a big field of snow.
That's right. But I am so committed to this podcast that I record at past midnight, and I never am up this late ever.
I know.
Never happens.
I know, it's true. So thank you for that.
Never ever happens.
Never.
Except for, occasion.
So
except for every night.
Right. In other news, this is from Adweek. Facebook is extending its test of a petition feature for locals issues in the newsfeed. So this is going to be called the Community Action, and it enables elected officials and government agencies to take part. So Facebook has been testing a Community Action feature that enables people to share petitions about local issues on the newsfeed in selected U.S. markets over the past several weeks. And that test group is growing larger this week. So people in this test group can create a community action containing information including the specific change that is needed, such as adding a dedicated bike lane to downtown streets, why it would benefit affected community, and which government officials and or agencies should be responsible for making the changes. So, I think that it's a great idea for Facebook to get involved in local politics. It's been going so well with how they've been influencing our national politics.
Yeah, they nailed it on the national side. So why not take it down to the micro level?
Yeah, this won't get.
Why stop there? Let's get into school elections.
Yeah.
Let's get into PTA things. Why stop there?
This won't be abused at all. And pretty soon we're going to have a town's going to pop up and have Vladimir Putin Road. No one's going to know why, but everyone wants it. So anyway, be on the lookout for that. And interesting thing about Facebook. I just had a birthday, and I am now closer to 50 than anything else. And if I were a dog, I'd be dead. So.
Me too, man. If it makes you feel any better, me too. Even though I'm only 35, I would be dead as a dog.
I know, but I'd be more dead than you.
That's true.
I'd be I'm almost 3 dogs dead right now. But you get to this age. That's how I should start. Like, how old are you? I'm 3 dead dogs. But what's interesting is, how every year people wish you happy birthday on Facebook. And I've noticed that this year, less people wish me happy birthday on Facebook than ever. I think that the user base is definitely shrinking.
Well, maybe, but also you did like a whole post about how you were leaving for a while. And so maybe people thought you were gone.
I guess you're right about that.
It could have played into it. It's not a pure scientific experiment. There are a few possible confounding variables here.
Or maybe people just don't like me.
That's true. Yeah, people may like you less because you're on the radio now, and they're just you're such a big deal now. You become a big shot. So.
That's true. They're all jealous. This story's from Entrepreneur Magazine. Bird Box. Did you see Bird Box?
I still have not seen Bird Box. We watched like the opening scene, and I need to finish it. I mean, I get the concept. I saw A Quiet Place, and I get the concept that it's basically a quiet place for vision, but I have not seen it.
Bird Box, which is a very mediocre film, got a huge boost because of a meme marketing strategy. Where did you hear about the Bird Box Challenge? People were doing the Bird Box Challenge.
I heard about the Bird Box Challenge because somebody drove blindfolded. Is that what you're going to talk about?
Yeah, well, that's definitely something that happened, but I don't think that was.
Describe the Bird Box Challenge first. Why don't you describe it for our listeners? Because not everybody knows.
Okay, so Bird Box. Let me rewind a little bit. This is for you geeks out there. Bird Box is a movie with Sandra Bullock on Netflix, and it's a movie about it's kind of like A Quiet Place, if you haven't seen that, where these creatures are attracted to sound. In Bird Box, creatures are attracted to sight. So if you see it, then it some H.P. Lovecraft kind of demon will show up and will invade your brain and make you kill yourself. So in order to survive, if you go outside, you have to put on blindfolds. And the bulk of the movie, I'm not spoiling anything because it starts off this way, is Sandra Bullock and these two kids are going down this river completely blindfold, and they have to like hit some rapids, and it's pretty intense. But anyway, people started doing the Bird Box Challenge where they would put on a blindfold and start doing just like random stuff, and including driving a car, which was kind of ridiculous. But
and crashing.
But because of the meme marketing of the Bird Box Challenge and people doing it, the movie got a huge boost. So the whole thing really is about whether or not this type of meme marketing can be effective. And in a future show, we're going to actually talk about how you can leverage meme marketing to help your product or service. So.
And we'll go in on that show. We're going to go into the broader topic, I think, of viral marketing as well. Yeah. So, but meme marketing being one of the subcomponents there. But going back to Bird Box, it reminds me of like the Tide Pod challenge when all those kids were putting Tide Pods in. Were they eating them, or were they just putting them in their mouth? What was the? I don't remember the challenge.
They're eating them. They were like biting into them, and
But they look so delicious. I mean, they make them with the little colory swirls. I mean, they look like ice cream, right?
They do look like ice cream, and you got to keep them away from your kids. But I'm sure it like boosted. I'm sure that Tide Pods went up in sales. And,
it probably did.
But you know what? It just goes to show you one thing. The last thing that
Mike Judge was right when he made Idiocracy the movie.
Well, there is that, but the last thing that, and I apologize in advance for any of our redneck listeners, but you'll probably love this joke anyway. The last thing a redneck ever says before he dies?
I don't.
Here, hold my beer. Hey, everybody, watch this. Last thing a redneck ever says.
And then something crazy happens. And then he does some crazy stunts.
Well, yeah, that's it. It's on YouTube, and that's the thing. So finally, last little bit of news. I've got a couple of digital marketing stats for you. Yeah, I knew you were waiting for this. Number one, majority of Americans unaware of their Facebook ad preferences. Did you know that you have Facebook ad preferences?
And I do, and I we were having a conversation about this, and
that's right. And who are you, according to Facebook?
According to Facebook, I am a Hispanic male, which I found interesting. I have no idea how that would have been captured. I don't even know what would have triggered that, but I found that interesting. I mean, obviously, I'm about as white. I'm about as white as they come. So
you're pretty white, dude.
I don't. I'm pretty white. I have Norwegian and Welsh descendants, and I'm very white.
Yeah,
I got that.
I know that's kind of funny.
But it's just random. So yeah, it'll tell you your political ideology that they think you have. It'll tell you a lot of that stuff. They have a file on you, kind of like J. Edgar Hoover had files on everybody. So they have the public file is the one that they will show you, and then they got the blackmail file, which they don't want to show you yet.
Which is kind of funny because it used to be that people were all concerned about the FBI has a file on me, I don't want that. Now people just willingly give their information to these different companies.
Giant
here's the thing,
conglomerates. Facebook, Amazon, Google control. They have massive control. It's crazy.
They know more about you than your therapist, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But this survey revealed that 74% of Facebook users did not know that they had a list of traits and interests that went into their ad preferences until they were shown. And furthermore, like you, 27% say they are not very or not at all accurate in describing them. So, and 59% say that these categories do in fact reflect their real life interests. But there's a good third that they're a white guy like you is miscategorized ethnically.
Yeah. So just to kind of go over this, like if you're on the desktop, especially, I think it makes it a little bit clearer. But if you see an ad on Facebook, you're going to see a sponsored post like in your feed. And I think this will work on mobile too, but you'll see like a little ellipsis in the top right corner. And an ellipsis is those three dots, if you're not familiar with that term. If you click on them, what you'll see is you'll have a post that says, why am I seeing this? And it'll actually tell you why that ad was targeted to you. It'll give you some of that information. They won't give you all the information. They'll give you some of that information, but it'll pull up. It'll tell you why that ad was targeted to you, what demographics you reached, why it went to you. And then when you do that too, you'll find a little kind of gear icon that says manage your ad preferences. And if you click on that, that's where you're going to start to see like, okay, this is going to show me interests. This will show me your information, things like that. So, and then like ad settings as well. So you can go in here and you can learn like a little bit about how Facebook is tracking you, and you can get that information. So that's how you would do it if you want to learn this stuff for yourself.
So that brings us to a very, very interesting point, which is the main point of our show, actually. And that is, how do you determine use those particular methodologies within Facebook to target your specific demographic? And that comes into a subject that we'd like to present now, which is this idea of the customer avatar. And why don't you tell us a little bit about what a customer avatar is?
I think the best way to describe a customer avatar is it's a personification of your target market segment, and you're personifying it as if it were an individual living, breathing person. So with a customer avatar, the exercise that you would do to do this would be to come up with a single person that represents like a composite of the qualities and characteristics of your target market client, including things like how old are they, what gender would they be. Or you could do this for both genders too. Or I guess I shouldn't say both genders. I should say in marketing we usually do too. But yeah, I mean things are changing.
Hey man, it's the 21st century.
It's the 21st century. Things are changing, so I gotta up my vocabulary. Yeah, so you're doing it this way, and you're coming up with again, you're personifying that target market into a single person, but you want to give this person a name, even like, and you want to know like what's their occupation, what's their job title, what's their annual income, their level of education, like going through and really, really specific, because the more specific you get, then you can nail down things like what do they read, where do they hang out,
right?
What do they watch on television, or where do they visit online? I know you're going to cover a lot of this, but that's the idea. We're really looking to find out. Ultimately, we want to know where they hang out.
Yeah, and
we're doing this entire worksheet to determine where they hang out, where we can find them, what the best media avenue is to get in front of them.
But it's also a bit broader than that too, because what you want to, in my mind, what the customer avatar really does is when you personify who your customer avatar is. I had a friend of mine who was working at a magazine, and they built this customer avatar named Tessa Harrison. And Tessa Harrison, they had her whole backstory. They had, where she worked. She had 2 kids. This is the places that she went to. She did yoga. She shopped online at these kinds of places. And they really, they knew her. They knew her well enough that if she walked in the room, they'd be like, that's Tessa, right? They had a whole, sketch of who this person was, as if she was a real live person. And whenever they did a marketing campaign, they would always ask, would Tessa like this? And they would be like, oh, Tessa would love this purse. Tessa would, listen to this music. And so when they did their marketing campaign, they didn't do this broad marketing campaign. They would market to Tessa Harrison. They would talk directly to Tessa Harrison. So one of the biggest no-nos I see with most companies, and this is, I swear I can't believe that I see this over and over again, but it is more common than you would know, is when I ask somebody, a client, and they hire me to look into how to help them with their advertising, I ask them, well, who is your product for? It's one of the first things I ask them. And they say, well, it's for everybody. And I'm like, no, it is not for everybody. Like, who is your market segment? Well, we want everyone to use this product. And if I can't stop them from that line of dialogue, I have learned now that I have to throw up my hands and I go, I'm not sure I can help you. Because, I've dealt with that where I've had to deal with customers where I was like, listen, no, this is not the case. They're like, no, we really want to market this to everybody. And ultimately you're going to throw away.
Yeah. And we talked a little bit about that concept, I think a week or 2 ago. But the main thing I mean, and I'm just going to reiterate what I said then, because I believe this is true, that when people say that, when they say my product and service is for everybody, it's out of a mindset of scarcity. Because they're afraid that they're going to miss somebody. They're afraid of missing out on that extra sale. Because if they narrow down their niche, that's cutting off. Your advertising is only focused on this one segment. They're missing that broader segment. And so the logic that they're running on is, okay, but if I'm focused on that, I'm missing all these other people, and I don't want to miss anybody. Again, the reality though,
right.
The reality is though, when you function like that, is that you're going to miss everybody, because marketing really only works when you have when your messaging matches to a specific market segment. So when you have to have some sort of a messaging market match, and you want to speak in terms of specificity, because you want to take that down into like a niche level, meaning you want to in NLP, I always reference neuro-linguistic programming, they would call this chunking down. But you want to get down to, okay, we're actually speaking to this customer avatar now. We've identified them, as you were talking about, Andros. And now when I'm writing my landing page copy, or I'm writing my email copy, or I'm showing them a Facebook ad, I want to speak directly to them. And I want to address their concerns, their pain points, their challenges, and be very specific to them, rather than trying to speak to this broad concept and generalizations, because generalizations in marketing, everybody does that.
Right.
And there's a term in marketing called like blue ocean and red ocean. And blue ocean is like, this actually is more about like different types of niches, but blue ocean is the places where other people aren't going. You're getting into a niche that other people are not in. It's blue ocean, it's wide open. And the red ocean is where all the marketers are hanging out, and it's red because it's like just all these sharks, and they're all feasting. They're trying to fight over each other, and so you don't want to get into that red market where you're marketing to everyone, because that's what everybody does, and you have to differentiate yourself. You need to be different than the competitors.
That's right. And it also goes to show you that you have to really niche down. You have to niche down to very, very specifics. Again, you got to get your Tessa Harrison, right? So a couple of this breaks down into 2 different sections with this concept. There's the first one is, how do you find your Tessa Harrison? How do you find like who you're going to market to? Like, what is your market segment? And number 1, and number 2, what are the types of information that you want to gather in your customer avatar so you know who this person is. So we're going to break this down into two different sections. So the first section is how do you find what your market segment is and who these people are? Another example of a client that I had, and this was someone I had to throw my hands up with. It was a really great job too. It was a huge company, and it would have looked good on my portfolio. But once they said this, I just had to shake my head, and I'm like, I can't help you guys. And that was a company that when I asked them who your market segment is, they gave me that. Well, it's for everybody. We want everyone to buy this product. And I said, well, that's not true. In fact, the first thing that we need to do is market research. We need to find out from your existing customers who is using your product and what the customer journey was, how they ended up with the product in their hand. And without doing that, we don't know who your product is for because, and his answer to me, the guy who owned the company, was, well, whenever I go to a hotel, they always want me to do a market research survey and I never do them. And I'm like, but that's you, dude. Like, you know, and a case in point was that my girlfriend used this product, and when she opened up the packaging, the writing was very, very small, and her eyes aren't very good, and so she wasn't able to read the directions in that. So just by getting that little bit of customer feedback and market research from their clientele, they would have known that, which would have made the customer experience a lot better. So one of the first things that you need to do is you need to start doing market research to your existing client base. So how do you do that? So there's some techniques around that.
Assuming you have one, because not everybody, some people are going to be getting into new business here, I imagine. But yeah, I always say that if you're going to create a customer avatar, you want to start with your existing clients. Let's look at your existing clients and let's find the ones that have been most profitable for your business. Where do you have the most leverage? And when I say leverage, it's like who makes you the most money for the least amount of effort? Because to me, that's leverage when you're able to make money without putting out a ton of effort, without things that are going to take out a ton of time. And one example of leverage is to have group consulting sessions versus one-on-one. The leverage being that you're spending 1 hour of your time with 30 people versus 1 hour of your time with one person. So you have to think of things in that way. So where do I have leverage in my business? Where do I make the most profit margin? And let's identify the characteristics of the clients that have already bought this from me. So let's reverse engineer a little bit. Let's take this and let's see if there's a pattern. If we can identify a pattern, let's reverse engineer this into a composite character or an avatar. So that's where I would start. But also, again, when you're getting started, I think it's a good starting point always to look for the most profitable segment, because there's going to be more than one segment in your business. I mean, the reality is you're going to serve different audiences. There will be more than one avatar. So there are different, you can have more than one avatar, but let's start with the one that's going to make you the most money, because that just makes the most sense.
Right. And on average, you probably will have about 4 different avatars, right? So the messaging around each of those will be a little bit different. But first of all, so you're talking about like doing a focus group, number one, like getting a group of people together and asking a bunch of questions like, what do you like about this product? What do you don't like about this product? What are the things that are helpful to you? But how would you get those people together? Well, if you have an existing client base, that's one thing. One of the tools that you could use is like SurveyMonkey. Use SurveyMonkey or even Google Forms. Google Forms is actually very powerful. You put together a market research questionnaire. You can find questions online to put together kind of a sample questionnaire. And when you send people that questionnaire, if they are able to fill that out, you give them something at the end of it. But Google Forms specifically is great because it gives you a whole bunch of data and can pie chart things out and give you graphs on what the answers are. SurveyMonkey does basically the same thing. So you can, even if you have 20 or 30 people answering a bunch of questions, that data can be very, very successful. But what do you do if you...
Well, let me just say this real quick, Andros, because I just had a client that I introduced Google Forms to recently, and he was like blown away and never heard of it. So I just wanted to mention that Google Forms is an amazing platform to capture market research from your existing clients in survey format, because you can create these survey forms and ask any questions that you want. You can customize the forms. They're not the prettiest,
but it's free.
The prettiest forms out there, but it's free. That's what I was going to say. It's free, and they track data for you. It works really well. And so it's very cool, and you'll find it in Google Drive. So if you go into your Google Drive account and you look at all of the different options there, you will find Google Forms inside of Google Drive. If you don't know what Google Drive is, Google it. Yeah,
I guess you could definitely do that. So so put together a market research form, send it to your existing customers through your email marketing campaign. Give somebody like if you fill this out, we'll give you $5 off your next order or whatever. But what if you don't have a client base? How do you then find out that data? Well, one of the things that you could do is simply use Facebook to run different types of ads. And so what you could do is you can have kind of your 4 different types of customer avatars, your personas that you think, well, I think it's these 4 different types of people. And then you can run 4 different ads and target specific ad groups. We did a webinar on Facebook marketing a few months ago where we showed you how to target specific different demographics. So pick 4 different demographics, things that they like, things that they are interested in, age groups, income levels, education levels, and then target your ads, spend maybe $100 on each of those ad sets, and see which ones get the biggest response. And that's one way to figure out, kind of get a rough overview of who the client avatar may be and what demographic they fit into. Now, once you get that data and you figure out exactly who your client avatars kind of are, like in a broad perspective, the next thing you want to do is you want to start boiling down more detail-oriented information about your client avatar. And so this is going to be the fun creative stuff where you basically create a character for a story, right?
Before we get into that, I just wanted to add one thing. Before you run the test ads, which I think that it is a great way to you're running those ads more for research than for conversion in the beginning to kind of figure out where who's responding and how the messaging is landing. But before you even get into that, they do have something called Audience Insights on Facebook. So before you even run an ad, you can go into Audience Insights. It's a pretty cool tool, and you could break down you could create an audience, like a custom audience, and it'll compare it to the general population of Facebook, and it'll give you some interesting data that you can use to create your targeting when you're doing these ads. Including things like, let's look at the age range, let's look at the gender, let's look at a few of these interests. And when you pump this into the audience insight section, what it'll do is it'll say people that match this, these descriptions that you said, these interests, tend to have this type of relationship status. They tend to be it'll tell you if they're single, in a relationship, engaged, or married. It'll tell you the average education level that people like that have. And it'll also give you samples of people that match this description tend to have this job title, or they tend to like these Facebook pages. So you can use some of that in your targeting as well. And when you go to the avatar worksheet, I think that's gonna help you. That's gonna help you even narrow this down a little bit further. So before you run those test ads, I would probably actually do the customer avatar worksheet ahead of it, and then go through the customer insights, and then maybe do some test marketing to see how people are responding. And once you figure out kind of what's working, what's not working, that's when it really, you can amplify things. And we don't want to get too deep into that right now, but we want to stay on track with the customer avatar stuff. So that I just wanted to add that in, Andros, because that tool. That's a good point.
But as noted above at the top of the show, 27% of those people are wrong. So.
That's true.
So, but
it's not an exact science. That's right.
Right. So if you do run some sample ads just to get some data, just know you're not doing it to drive ads. You're doing it to just collect the data. And most of anytime you run an ad campaign, your first 4 to 6 weeks of running any ad campaign are going to be more for data purposes, less for running the ad itself. But when you finally kind of boil that down, then you want to really flesh out who this person is. And so, you want to think about things like give them a name, like actually name them, give them an age. Are they married? Do they have children? Where do they live? What schools did they attend? Job title, profession, household income, hair color, eye color, weight. If they're a B2B customer, throw in the industry. Who do they sell to? What's the annual revenue? Number of employees for that business and where they located? How many years in business have they had? So really come up with an actual storyline for these people, so you can know exactly. And I'm telling you, the more precise you are with this type of thing, the more you boil this down and really speak to this one person, the more success you're going to have with your ads. If you have some other things that you want to kind of figure out, you want to flesh out like details about how long have they worked in their current job? Like what's their salary? So you know how much money they're making. How many jobs did they hold in their career? Their political views, religious views, hobbies, interests. What are their favorite brands? What do they like? What social media platforms do they use? Where do they get their news from? Right? Do they use Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn? Do they have business goals, personal goals, family goals? And then start listing their problems. What are the problems that they have in their daily life, right? What are the biggest issues that they're facing? What are the things that could possibly happen if the problem is not solved? And you could get more and more granular with this type of thing. So you can really start thinking about who this person is. So once you start figuring out who this person is, you can start thinking about what their perfect solution looks like and how your product would be the most perfect solution, how much they're willing to pay for it based on their income, their values, where they've come from. And and then I would even recommend creating a short story about this person, like do some creative writing around this person. Because again, the more you are specific about these particular things, the more granular you are. So you know this person as well as you know any of your friends. Then you market to just that one person. So for instance, if I have a product and I know that more females buy this product, I'm not going to have like a mother of two who is maybe a single mom and she's like working 2 jobs. She could be one avatar, but I could also have like some girl in her 20s who is she's on Tinder. She doesn't have a serious relationship. She has a job, but she's about to like get a better one. That's a different demographic, and the messaging is going to be completely different. And the customer avatar that I build around them and how I market to each one of those people is going to be specifically different. So you've got to really be clear about this, because once you have that, then you can create ad sets around each of those persons, and your ads will be far more successful.
Absolutely.
Got anything to add around that?
Well, a couple different things. We need to kind of get into the heads of our target market. So we created a customer avatar. Let's kind of get into the heads of them. Where are they on their journey? First of all, what is the problem that we're solving is very key. And again, we've talked about pain points. We've talked about having a problem. And in marketing, we're always looking at tying our product or service to a benefit. So rather than describing features or the characteristics of what makes our service work or what makes our product special, let's really talk about outcomes. Let's talk about what outcome this is going to give people. So when we do that, we start thinking in terms of outcomes. Okay, so we know that this person wants to experience health. They want to experience more health in their life. Like let's say we have a weight loss product or something, but they want to be healthier. They want more energy. So those are the outcomes we're speaking to. So the next thing is kind of thinking about, okay, where are they right now? So I know that we're targeting a certain market segment. Now, are these people that have a problem, but they have no idea they have this problem? Are they people that have a problem and they know that they have a problem, but they just don't know where the solution is? Are they people that have a problem, they know they have a problem, and they know the solution, but they just haven't taken action? These kind of things all matter in terms of where they are in their journey as well. So we want to get a feel for kind of where they are in their journey, because depending on what stage they are, we might be speaking to them with different marketing copy too, or different messaging copy. So we really want to kind of get into our clients' heads, and I think that's a useful way of looking at it. A lot of times too, when you're reading messaging copy, there's something I always talk about copywriting a lot, but something called three-dimensionalizing a client's experience. And when you're speaking to a customer avatar segment, what I want to do is I want to identify their ideal outcome, and I want to three-dimensionalize it, meaning a lot of times in a sales conversation, you might hear a statement like this, that I want you, so hello, Mr. Clients or Miss Clients. I want you to imagine a year in the future. You've used our product. You've achieved all of your goals. You're now at your ideal weight. You have more energy. You're feeling fantastic. You're running around with your grandkids or kids. And I want you to really kind of experience that for a minute. And I want you to get inside of your, really visualize it, get inside your body, and tell me now that you've achieved this and you've hit your ideal goals here. Now, what are you seeing? What are you feeling? What are you hearing? Like, what's happening around you? And I want you to really get a picture about this and describe it to me. And when you get somebody to get into that and describe what they're hearing, feeling, seeing, that's where that three-dimensionalizing comes in. That really sets a frame for landing this message to that specific market segment. And I think I might be going a little bit, this might not tie directly to what we're talking about, but it does tie in. I just might be slightly off topic because I'm kind of moving into the copywriting messaging phase already. But yeah, I like to think about all this stuff kind of as it all comes together too.
It does, because especially when you get insight into your avatar, when you really get to know this person inside and out, then it makes your job way easier. So imagine, again, just as a juxtaposition, you have the client avatar that you've developed, and this person distinctly. You know exactly who they are, what they like, what they don't like. You could write copy and be like, oh, they wouldn't respond to that. I know they would respond to this. If I say this word, they're going to respond to that, because you know this person as well as you know any of your friends, versus, well, our product's kind of for everybody, right? What? Just thinking about those two things side by side, what are you going to be more successful with? And so, there's lots of customer avatar worksheets, but the main thing is to really think about who your customer avatar is. And as always, if you have any questions around it, you can always reach out to us on LinkedIn. But there is one demographic that I have no idea about because it's too new. And do you know what that demographic is?
Which one is that?
Oh yeah, it is time once again for the Sex Robot Report. Well, how do you market to a sex robot? I do not know.
I'm glad you asked that question.
Give me some horn. Oh yeah. Yeah. So this story is from the Daily O. So here's a question for you, right?
Okay.
The Daily O. If you like people who are the same sex as you, then you are a homosexual. If you are someone who likes men or women, you are a bisexual. If you are someone who will have a relationship with anybody, you're a pansexual. Although a pansexual and a bisexual, I'm not sure what the difference is. Maybe you have sex with pans.
That could. I think that fits the definition.
Yeah, men, women, and pans.
My understanding is that what happens in the movie The Shape of Water, I think, would qualify for pansexual. I'm thinking.
Okay. I would totally have sex with an alien. I would. I totally would.
Captain Kirk fits the definition, I think.
Da, 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 da. So what do you call somebody who has sex with sex robots?
A super freak.
That's right. No, it is. Are you ready? Because this term is going. You heard it here first, folks. This is.
It's going to become part of your everyday lexicon.
It is after this moment. You are a digisexual. If you have sex with sex robots, you are a digisexual. So
I've never heard that until right now. That's a brand new word for me. Thank you. Word of the day.
Yeah, they feel sexual. Digisexual are people who feel sexual attraction towards robots or other tools of a quote digital sexual gratification.
Now, does this exist already, or is this theoretical at this point?
Well, look, man. If it
exists, it exists.
It has to exist. Rule 47 of the internet. If it exists, then there is a porn about it. So yeah, there is. This is the new term, digisex. So here's the question: do pansexuals fall under the digisexual category? Is that something that is? I don't know.
This reminds me. Do you remember there was a little controversy about this? And this is totally off the top of my head. When Solo, a Star Wars movie, came out, there was a controversy about Lando. So there was a controversy, and he described himself as a pansexual. However, if you watch the movie, he is attracted to the robot, and they kind of hint at a potential relationship between him and the robot. So it's,
that's true. You'll
have to check on that. But they were kind of clumping that together. So I wasn't hearing this. What was the word again?
Digisexual. Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't hearing that term. I was hearing pansexual when that was happening. When that story came out in May of last year.
Yeah. So maybe Lando is just maybe he's a pansexual, but maybe he's a digisexual. Or maybe maybe if he has sex with the Millennium Falcon, he'd be a chromosexual. I don't know.
Well, spoiler alert, but I mean that robot did merge with the Millennium Falcon, so maybe he would do that.
That's a good point. I don't have the answer to any of these things, man. I'm just a dumb human. But you know what? I would. I don't know. Maybe I'll find out one of these days.
But as AI advances, we will get the answers to these questions and more. And that's what we really want out of life, right?
Just more answers, and and then of course, how do we market to these people? That's all I really care about.
How do we market? We ask the questions, AI gives the answers.
One of these days. So, geek news, man. What do you got for us?
Geek news. I guess the interesting story. Netflix is going to revive Unsolved Mysteries as a Netflix original. So they're bringing back Unsolved Mysteries. I think that's kind of a cool concept. I loved the original. The guy that hosted it, I kind of forget his name off the top of my head, but he had an amazing voice, and it was iconic. I mean, it was truly iconic. Like the music, like the way that show was produced and directed, it really, I still remember it.
Yeah. So I wonder how that's going to be. Is that I mean, I love shows like that as long as I don't know. I mean, I've known people have kind of gone off the deep end with because that's almost like a gateway drug to Alex Jones. So gotta be careful taking all with a grain of salt.
That's true. I got a couple more here. So the Punisher just released season 2 on Netflix, and the Punisher, the showrunner, came out today and was started to release talks about plans for season 3, with the idea that. I guess he survives. Sorry, but they're putting. I haven't even seen it. I haven't seen season 2, and I'm not that surprised that the main character would survive. But they're talking about season 3 where he returns to the city. So I guess he leaves the city at some point. I don't know. And they're leaking all this. But what's funny is I'm pretty sure that the Punisher is going to be canceled either in the next 2 weeks, or they're going to wait till Jessica Jones season 3 and they're going to just cancel the entire Netflix Marvel universe all in one lump sum. So it's pretty inevitable that this is happening.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Disney is taking over pretty much all the properties. They're kind of cutting out Netflix. They're cutting their relationship with Netflix. So right now, if you're on Netflix, you're seeing movies like Solo is available on Netflix right now. Avengers Infinity Wars on Netflix right now. Any of these Marvel movies, any of these Star Wars movies, they're all going away. So once Disney rolls out that new streaming service at the end of this year, all of those movies will no longer be on Netflix. So it's going to be a climate change and not the one that Al Gore talks about.
Well, the real question is going to be this,
or maybe both.
Yeah. Well, is it possible that Netflix will revive any of these shows? Because there has been chatter that that's a possibility where they may revive these shows under their banner and then be able to fold it into the Marvel Cinematic Universe on a much wider scale. One of the things that I was
You mean will Disney revive?
Yeah. One of the things I was really disappointed in is when Civil War came out. It would have been awesome to have a whole season of Daredevil where the Civil War experience, like the whole storyline in Civil War, was reflected on a street level. With and having we're having Iron Man show up in at some point, just as a cameo. And this it's really too bad because I feel like I never got into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because of the same thing where I didn't, because it's not part of a broader universe and the timelines aren't folded together. I just kind of lost interest.
Well, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a great example because on the show, the main character is Agent Coulson, who dies in the Avengers movie, the first one. And again, man, I'm full of spoilers today. I'm sorry, but these are old movies. I mean, that was from 2012. If you haven't seen Avengers by now and you're listening to the show, then I can't help you. I just can't help you. But on the Netflix or on the ABC show, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they revived him, and so most people thought that meant he was alive. But it turns out that the movies were totally different than the TV shows, so so it really confused and blurred the lines, especially with that when they have like totally different alternate timelines apparently happening through the TV universes and the movie universes.
Yeah.
And if you watch the Netflix shows, they reference things like the Battle of New York, meaning what happens in Avengers 1. So they reference these things, but they don't cross over. And apparently there's some sort of not a rift, but a divisional rift between like Marvel Netflix and Marvel Studios, and I mean they own everything though, so that's their own doing. So if they really wanted to make it happen, they could overlap these franchises.
So if
it's disappointing that they didn't do it that way to begin with.
And I think that part of the dip in popularity had to do with this very thing. But what is really interesting? So the finally, before we wrap up, the Oscar nominations came out, and Best Picture, Black Panther was nominated. I think that has no chance of winning whatsoever. But
none at all.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
No, it does not.
Pretty low.
It can happen.
What else is? Can you name the Best Picture nominees? You have.
I can. Yeah, Best Picture. So there's Black Panther, Black Klansman, which I really enjoyed. Bohemian,
I haven't seen it yet. I want to see that one.
Bohemian Rhapsody, which
won the Golden Globe for Best Dramatic Picture, which surprised me. I haven't seen it yet. I've heard mixed things.
Yeah.
Actually, the people that I've talked to that's seen it loved it. On the internet, though, like on Rotten Tomatoes, it's pretty mixed reception on there. So, but most of the people I've talked to loved it. I have heard that they take a lot of liberties with the story on that movie.
Yeah.
So some of it's not really fully accurate, but it's probably entertaining nonetheless.
Yeah, it's definitely an entertaining movie. Definitely not going to win Best Picture, though. A movie I had never heard about, The Favorite. Which is The
Favorite that's playing right now.
Yeah, Emma Stone. It's a costume.
It's still qualified.
No,
it qualified for this year's Oscars. Okay,
it did. Emma Stone. It's a period piece, but it looks actually very funny. Green Book, which is also loosely based on a true story about a
that won a lot of awards too over on the Golden Globes.
Right, Roma, which is available on Netflix now, and really great movie. Alphonse Cuarón, who did Children of Men, one of my favorite all-time movies. He did Gravity. He did a movie called A Little Princess, which is fantastic if you haven't seen it. But Roma is a very sweet movie. A Star is Born. And
now, real quick about Roma. So they DQ'd it from the Golden Globes because it's in Spanish and it was subtitled. So they DQ'd it from the main category because I guess they have a English only restriction for the Golden Globes. So that's why it wasn't nominated for the Best Picture, but it did win Best Foreign Film in the Golden Globes.
Yeah.
So it did. So on the Oscars, though, they gave it a full nomination. Is that right?
Yeah, they did, and it's a great movie. It really is. A Star is Born got nominated, and a movie that you saw today, Vice.
Yeah, I just saw it today. Christian Bale, incredible. I mean, that guy, I can't believe he gained like 80 pounds for that movie to play Dick Cheney, and he transforms. That guy he's an amazing actor, especially because if you see him in real life or you listen to him on an interview, he's got a heavy Australian accent.
Yeah, well, he got nominated for Best Actor too, along with Rami Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody. Willem Dafoe got a nomination for At Eternity's Gate. Bradley Cooper for A Star is Born. Viggo Mortensen for Green Book. And then Best Leading Actress, we have newcomer, I'm going to mess up her name, Yelida Aparicio for Roma.
You nailed it. I have no idea.
Thanks. Glenn Close for The Wife. Olivia Colman for The Favorite. Lady Gaga got a nomination.
Oh, she did? Okay, cool.
Yeah. And I think good for her. I think she's going places, that Lady Gaga. I think she's going to be a star. And Melissa McCarthy for Can You Ever Forgive Me, which I never heard of. So,
yeah, I'm curious because I heard some good things about her performance, but I know nothing about that movie. Now, wait, before we wrap here, we do have to talk about, because we teased it in the beginning, we do have to talk about Ghostbusters 3. So we do have to talk about that. You have one last thing about the Oscars before we get into that?
One last thing. We're running over time, but we're wrapping up here. Best Animated Feature. This is important for you and I because we both have kids. Best Animated Feature.
Sherlock Gnomes?
2.
Sherlock Gnomes.
No, it got shut out, unfortunately.
No nomination.
Incredibles 2, which I really enjoyed. Isle of Dogs. Did you see that?
No, I haven't seen that. I know about it, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, Wes Anderson. Mirai, which I don't know about. Ralph Breaks the Internet, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
I haven't seen any of these. I want to see Spider-Man because that's playing right now, but I haven't seen any of them.
But you know what? My favorite was Isle of Dogs. I loved it. It was so good. So anyway, there you go. Finally, to wrap it up, we have
Ghostbusters 3. So apparently Jason Reitman, who is the son of Ivan Reitman, who has directed movies such as, so he's directed movies like Up in the Air. He directed Thank You for Smoking, which is actually a pretty good marketing movie about how the tobacco industry spins, how they do spin. But he's done some good movies, and he's also had a few that aren't so great. But he's taken on the helm of what's being called a sequel to Ghostbusters. So this is ignoring the female reboot edition, I'm assuming. And they are picking up after Ghostbusters 2. It sounds like that the plans that I've heard about are that they are going to go with a new cast of teenage Ghostbusters, but then there'll be kind of cameo appearances by the original cast, and they will be appearing in this, except for Harold Ramis, who passed away. So the 3 remaining characters would make an appearance in this, but not be featured as the main characters. And so they released a teaser on this, and it surprised everybody because they didn't announce this at all, and nobody knew about it till the teaser got dropped. I'm still a little skeptical myself. I still think it's possible that this is like leading to a Super Bowl ad or something like they did with the Crocodile Dundee fake last year.
Here's the dick move that they did about it, though. And even Leslie Jones came out and she said the exact same thing. This is a dick move. You know what they're calling this movie?
What are they calling it?
Ghostbusters 3.
Oh, they're calling it. Okay, so they're. I said that. Yeah,
they're completely ignoring the female-led Ghostbusters.
Well,
and
you can make an argument that the continuity doesn't fit with the female-led Ghostbusters because if you've seen it, they have the original cast playing totally different characters. So there
but
is
even
that.
still,
But
technically, it took place in the same universe. Technically, it was Ghostbusters 3.
I mean, you could.
So that means if
the original characters could be playing multiple roles. That's all.
So the question is, if they come out with a new Ghostbusters with a female cast, which will never happen, but if they did, would that be Ghostbusters 2?
I would say yes. I mean, if you look at like what happened with Spider-Man, that's what's going to happen. That's what it'll be. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't need to make sense. We're in a new world. It's 2019, Andros. It's 2019.
And it is 2019. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we close out the show with another fine edition of Marketing Geeks. Man, you know what? Thank you, everybody, for listening. If you listened this far, I so appreciate each and every one of you. I am so grateful I get to do this. Thank you, everybody.
And whether you're listening to 1 hour or 11 consecutive hours like some of our fans out there, we love you. We appreciate you. If you could do us a solid and leave us a review, especially on iTunes, we would love you for it. If you could write out a written review, that'd be the best case scenario. But this is always our pleasure, always a blast. Love being on Marketing Geeks.
Yeah, share it with 500 of your closest friends, ladies and gentlemen. The Marketing Geeks program. Next week, we will have another fine show for you. We're already researching it. We're ready to go. We're going to make it smashing. Your 2019 is going to be amazing because of us.
Because of us, that's right. So get ready, get set, and here we go with